Welcome into WagerTalk TV. We're talking Louisville and Ole Miss, the nightcap on Monday. It's actually the cap to the whole week one card. It is a good college football opening weekend. Louisville and Ole Miss going to end it for us here on Monday. We're seeing Ole Miss minus 10, total of 75. Oh, and before I forget, I'm Drew Martin, joined by Steve Merrill and Tony Finn of WagerTalk.com. Steve, coming to you first, man. This is a very interesting handicap for sure. We've seen Ole Miss go from -7 at the opener as high as -10.5, if not 11 at some shops as we're talking right now. Steve, do you think they're worthy of laying doubles here in this game Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen some line movement, as you said, on Louisville over the last month or two. To be honest, this line opened 7.5 several months ago, and then a lot of other books opened 8.5, 9 in early August. But it's now crossed that key number of 10, and 10 is a key number. You know, we talk about 3 and 7 all the time, but 10 is pretty key as well, especially when you have a high-scoring game like this one should be. The total in this one opened 74.5. It's up to 76 now in most locations. So a very good chance, they could win by exactly 10. I actually make the line about 12.5, 13. So I did think that opening line was too short. So I'm not surprised to see the money come in on the home favorite, Mississippi. And Ole Miss, only the second year under Kiffin, Louisville, third year under their head coach. So two teams that should be better this year, but really want to take a look at Louisville. This was Mississippi. This was a team that was explosive under first head coach Lane Kiffin. Of course, came over from Florida Atlantic last year. Last season was a tough season to be a new head coach because you had basically no offseason. You had limited practice due to COVID, and you had to try to implement your system on top of that. And, Mississippi obviously got off to a slow start last year, no question about it. But they finished strong, and I really think that was the buy sign with them coming into this season. This is an Ole Miss team that went 1-4 straight up to start the year, and they went a perfect 5-0 straight up to finish the year, including an outright bowl upset of Indiana, a team that was perfect against the spread until that loss. They won outright as a 7-point dog. So I really like this Mississippi team coming in, explosive offensive team. Now, of course, the concern is that defense. It was the worst. Maybe one of the two worst statistical defenses in the country last year as far as yards allowed. But the offense more than made up for it. They could score at will last year. They gave up 38 a game. They scored 39 a game, though. They gave up 519 yards a game. They averaged 556 yards a game on 80 plays per game, 7 yards per play. To put that in perspective, they got 70 yards technically every time they ran or threw the ball. In fact, when they threw the ball, they averaged 71% completions, 10.3 yards per pass attempts. That means every time they threw the ball, they averaged a first down. So this is an explosive offense. Normally the defenses are ahead of the offenses early in the season, but I think this Ole Miss team is going to be the exception, and I think they'll outscore Louisville in this one. Once again, the money's coming in Ole Miss at 10 or less, so I think there's still some value with them as the big favorite.
Sure. Good stuff, Steve. And Tony, coming to you next. This is finished off here. Steve talked about it in terms of really good offensive team. Lane Kiffin in the past, he's talked about point spreads, knowing about them. And heck, he's not afraid to kind of rev it up and cover some of these big point spreads. So it's a neutral site game here, fast track, controlled climate in Atlanta. You liking anything Monday night?
I'll tell you what, Steve, he's talked a lot about Ole Miss and who they are, what he thinks they can be, and I wouldn't disagree with any of them. I think that was great information and a good outline of what you're going to have with Kiffin. I think they'll also improve defensively. Through the transfer portal, they improved, and through some recruiting, they have some 4 stars that I think will help that defense. It was really leaky. At least they were porous last year. Scott Satterfield. I think Louisville is coming. I think they're going to have another down season. Last season, they were 8-5 in 2019, 4-7 last year's 4 coaches leave this staff. Top 2 offensive players leave for the NFL without even finishing the 2020 season. Satterfield actually had to write a letter to the season ticket holders last year after he felt like he kind of bungled things not only with the team, also when they discussed him for that South Carolina job. And Louisville gauges Louisville football. It's football. They love football. They love their basketball, and they seem to always be gauging themselves using Clemson as a that team they want to compare themselves to. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but that gap between these two has grown even larger, despite the fact that Clemson's lost a record-setting quarterback and running back. Once offensive coordinator Dwayne Ledford left for Atlanta Falcons. Satterfield decides he's going to take over the offense. There's just so many question marks. I think he has to figure out a way to fix Cunningham, the quarterback, Malik Cunningham. I think at some point in time this season, I think Evan Conley will replace Cunningham. I think they're going to have quarterback controversies because I don't think this team is going to be near as good as they were in 2019. And I think they're probably going to be equal to what they were last year, 4-7. And I hate, like you said, Drew and Steve, throwing that 2020 COVID season out. I'd like to. It's hard for as many players as this team lost. The offensive line is another mystery to me. This is a group that was coached by Ledford, and they loved Ledford, and he's gone. Louisville, I think, is in store for a long season. If you find the right spots to fade this team, I think you can make some money. I think that happens in week 1.
All right, might be time to go a little hotty-toddy, guys, here with Ole Miss in the Monday night finale to week 1. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy this game. And also remember to check out WagerTalk.com. Free live odds screen, one of the best in the business. My opinion, the best. So check it out, WagerTalk.com, live odds screen. Check out Steve Merrill and Tony Finn at WagerTalk.com. I am Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Enjoy the week 1 college football slate.